Welcome to episode 497 of AI Brief. I am Amin, and I am here with my co-host Leah. And today we are tracking some truly massive shifts.
Massive is almost an understatement.
Seriously. I mean, we are looking at Peter Thiel funding literal floating AI data centers out in the ocean. Plus, Anthropic just laid out a timeline for when AI is going to start building itself. And on top of that, we are seeing a whole new era of frontier labs launching private equity ventures.
It is wild. What we are really seeing today is this intense collision. You have the physical infrastructure of AI, so the data centers, the power grids, and it is just crashing head on with the sheer ridiculous acceleration of the software itself.
Because the software's hunger for compute is just completely outgrowing our cities at this point.
Yeah.
Which brings us to our first update. The AI infrastructure is literally heading out to sea.
Which sounds like science fiction, honestly.
It really does. But Peter Thiel, the guy behind PayPal and Palantir, he just led a $140 million Series B round for a company called Panthalassa.
Oh, wow. So what does that put their valuation at?
Nearly $1 billion. And what they are doing with that money is building these 85-meter steel nodes that just sit out in the open ocean. They take the natural motion of the waves and convert it into electricity to run AI chips.
Wait, they use wave motion? I mean, that is incredibly clever because public hostility toward building massive data centers in suburbs is just rising so fast.
Exactly. People do not want the noise or the strain on the power grid. So Panthalassa is taking these nodes. They steer themselves without engines, they use the seawater for cooling, and they beam all the data back via Starlink.
And we have heard people pitch space-based compute before, right? But the ocean is just so much more immediate. It is a realistic frontier.
It is. They are aiming for a commercial rollout by 2027. So just picture these giant server racks bobbing in the Pacific like massive self-cooling buoys.
That is quite the visual. But it makes you wonder why we need all that extra power so urgently.
Well, that is the perfect transition. The reason we need massive ocean compute is directly tied to what the AI is about to start doing, which is training itself. We are basically entering the self-building era.
It sounds a little intimidating.
It is definitely a huge leap. Jack Clark from Anthropic just put out this blog post giving, he gave better than 60% odds that AI will actually train its own successors before 2029.
And if you look at the METR data on this, it completely backs them up. METR projects that we will see models doing 100-hour autonomous runs by the end of this year.
100 hours. So if a human works an 8-hour day, that is almost 2 weeks of nonstop work in a single prompt. If an AI can jump from doing, 30-second tasks to 12-hour tasks and now 100-hour independent tasks in just a few years, what does the world look like when that stretches to 12 months of nonstop autonomous development?
That is the trillion-dollar question. I mean, look at the SW bench coding test. In less than 3 years, AI performance leaped from a 2% success rate to 93.9%. And OpenAI is openly targeting an automated research intern by September 2026.
September 2026.
Yeah.
That is just around the corner. But as these models approach that level of self-improvement, the bottleneck actually shifts. It is not about the AI's capability anymore.
What is the bottleneck then?
It is getting traditional, messy businesses to actually adopt the tech. Which brings us to our third big update. The frontier labs are pushing into private equity.
Oh, this is the enterprise deployment push.
Exactly. Anthropic just set up a $1.5 billion venture with firms like Blackstone, Hellman & Friedman, and Goldman Sachs. They are targeting mid-sized companies. And OpenAI has a rival move, a $4 billion deployment company valued at $10 billion.
And OpenAI brought in TPG, Brookfield, Bain, and SoftBank for that, right?
They did. Because you cannot just hand a mid-sized paper supplier a login for an advanced model and expect them to revolutionize their logistics.
No, they absolutely do not have the in-house talent for that. So these labs are basically creating their own AI-native consulting firms. They are injecting Claude and OpenAI workflows directly into private equity portfolio companies.
It completely bypasses the traditional sales cycle. They just go straight to the owners and rewire the companies from the inside out.
Okay, so that is a massive shift in how these tools hit the broader market.
It really is. I am going to hand it over to you now to cover the rest of the board today, because there is just a ton of other news to get through.
Sounds good. Let's shift gears and just take a slightly slower, more measured look at the rest of the day's developments. Starting off, Cofounder 2 just dropped a major update. They're giving solopreneurs a full-stack agent team.
A full-stack team, like multiple agents working together.
Exactly. You get an engineering agent, a sales agent, marketing. It even comes with a visual org chart and a roadmap for the bots to follow.
That is incredible for single founders.
It really changes the game. Also, in the enterprise software space, Perplexity's computer agent is now live in the Microsoft Marketplace. You can use it directly inside MS Teams to conduct research and draft documents right in your channels, though you do need a Pro, Max, or Enterprise account.
Makes sense that they would gate that behind the higher tiers.
Right. And moving to the legal side of things, a factual filing just showed that Elon Musk reached out to OpenAI's Greg Brockman about a potential settlement, and this was just days before their trial.
Very interesting timing on Musk's part.
Definitely. Meanwhile, in D.C., the White House is seeking to create a formal review process that models would have to go through prior to public deployment.
So more government oversight on the frontier models.
Got it. Precisely. On the funding front, Sierra just raised $950 million at a $15 billion valuation, and they are already serving over 40% of the Fortune 50 companies.
That is massive market penetration.
It is huge. And then, on a completely different note, Colin Angle, he is the creator of the Roomba. He just announced a new AI pet robot called Familiar. It is the size of a bulldog, and it is aimed specifically at retirees.
I just had to stop and marvel at that contrast. We have the White House trying to set up a giant federal review process for these civilization-altering models, and in the same industry, we have an AI bulldog designed to keep retirees company.
It is quite the spectrum. And just to wrap up the roundup, Anthropic is reportedly in talks to buy chips from Fractile. They are a London-based startup focused on running models more efficiently.
So they're looking for alternatives to the standard hardware pipeline.
Very smart. Well, from AI bulldogs to the tools you can deploy right now, let's dive into today's trending AI tools.
Always my favorite part of the deep dive.
Let's start with Grok 4.3. The practical use case here is that it is highly cost-efficient and domain-specific. So if you need to run massive bulk data analysis, you can do it without totally burning through your API budget, which makes it really great for developers who just need specialized knowledge queries running constantly in the background all day long.
Next up is that Cofounder 2 platform we just mentioned. It is basically a general intelligence agent orchestrator.
Right.
You can have this system generate a full marketing plan, and while it is doing that, a separate engineering agent is actively coding the landing page.
It essentially acts as an automated middle manager for your startup's workflow, so you don't have to micromanage the bots.
Exactly. Then we have Codex Pets. These are OpenAI's animated companions. It gamifies your coding streaks by visually tracking your development sprints.
It is just a really fun visual way to keep engineering teams engaged during those long, grueling coding sessions.
Next is Mindra. If you have a complex task like build a CRM, you explain it, and Mindra auto-selects and readies the best specialized bots for that specific job.
Which is huge because it eliminates all the trial and error of figuring out which AI model is best for which specific subtask.
Definitely. Then there is Toucan. This tool turns text prompts into structured video storyboards instantly. It is perfect for marketers mocking up new ad concepts.
And that saves thousands of dollars on pre-production before you ever have to hire a video crew.
Huge budget saver. We also have JustVibe, which is an AI search alternative, but it builds a dynamic UI. So if you are researching a topic, it builds interactive widgets to compare data instead of just feeding you a wall of text.
It basically transforms search from a reading exercise into a visual data dashboard.
And lastly, Cliptrend. This turns viral TikTok or YouTube effects into ready-to-use templates. So if you are a social media manager, you can jump on a trend instantly.
It completely bypasses the need for complex video editing software just to stay culturally relevant online.
Such a time saver.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we have covered a lot of ground today in this deep dive, and I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over.
Let's hear it.
We talked about those massive ocean compute nodes, and then we talked about self-training agents and automated enterprise deployments. We are literally watching the physical world and the digital world scale at the exact same breathtaking speed.
They are feeding into each other perfectly. The more the software scales, the more extreme the physical infrastructure has to become.
It is a wild feedback loop. If you enjoyed this deep dive, please follow, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to stay updated. See you in the next episode.
Take care, everyone.